So yesterday, about 6:52-ish, Woj reports, and 6:54, the press release is out, that Tommy Sheppard is out, released from his duties as Wizards president and general manager, according to said press release. But there was another part of that press release that really struck me that I thought was really interesting and is perhaps a little terrifying about the future of the Washington Wizards. Ted Leonsis says, very simply, very succinctly, Tommy Sheppard's failure to make the playoffs the last 2 years is essentially the reason he's gone. It's very disappointing to our fans, which gives big grandmother energy. It's very disappointing. But whatever. Maybe that's just my own grandmother. Hi, Muriel. Hope you're listening today. Leonsis says, though, not making the playoffs. And look, it's a press release. I don't want to read too much into it. But this is how Ted chose to address it. So it's all we've got. Not only did Tommy not make the playoffs, or the play-in even, in a league where now over half the teams reach that threshold, he hasn't shown a proper direction. He hasn't shown the ability to draft well. He hasn't shown growth, progress. Hasn't built a contender. And I think when we talk about who the next executive for the Washington Wizards is going to be, we need to look at two very important things that are not determined by said executive. We need to determine what Ted Leonsis wants in terms of a ceiling and a floor. Because there are people, including my good friend Clinton Yates, who I actually don't know if normally he joins us on Fridays, but he's traveling tomorrow, so I don't know that he'll be able to join us. Point is, Yates has talked about this for years. Theodore, as he calls them, loves to make sure that his franchises are profitable. Nothing wrong with that as an owner, unless that's your primary objective over winning. Because sometimes it pays, literally, to be the 8th seed. The money you get for making the playoffs is significant. And if your business model, in a purely financial sense, puts you in the black, making a profit if you make the playoffs, and not making a profit if you miss them, and part of that calculation is not being in the luxury tax, for instance, which the Wizards have not really messed with a lot, then you might just have an owner who is happy to be the 6th seed, get in the playoffs, and never push the envelope on the luxury tax. But also, more importantly, the floor means you got to make the playoffs. Your window of what you're trying to land becomes very narrow. And it's like, hey, if someone gets hurt in our first round series, maybe we'll even make the second round if the opposing team's best player gets hurt. Yay! That's not what I would be aiming for as an owner. I want to build a contender that would win a championship if you catch the breaks that every championship contender has to catch. Health, etc. I am not convinced, like some other folks seem to be, that Ted has completely changed his mind on this. I'm not convinced that he hasn't. I just would like to hear it. And we talked with Josh Robbins earlier of The Athletic, who does a great job covering the team. And Josh said two things that I think are really telling here. One, if Ted has the conversation with, a Tim Connolly, with whoever that he is trying to recruit here, and he, for instance, puts his foot down on Bradley Beal and says, no, I gave him a no-trade clause for a reason. We're not trading him. Don't even ask him about it. Do not talk about it. Do not mention it to his agent. Don't have him try to come to us. And if he comes to us, tell him that he made a commitment and he's going to stay here because we want him here. Then he is self-selecting who the next person is going to be. AKA, he's going to eliminate people who will be like, I'm not that interested. I don't want to come with handcuffs. I want to come with the freedom to do what I think we need to compete for a championship. And if Ted's serious about doing that, he'll allow that to happen. again, I don't think that it's the worst reflection of Ted's character that he would like Bradley Beal to retire here and hang his number and be a good ambassador for the franchise. And, Ted is big on loyalty, and there are worse things you can be as a human. But that's not going to help you win in sports, in professional sports. You can be compassionate and human while also business savvy. And that just goes into how you make the transactions. You don't call people and be like, hey, we traded you. Sorry. See ya, sucker. You keep your stars in the loop. You let them know what's up. And if things develop, then it's not a surprise. And there's always going to be some hurt feelings, but eventually those wash away when the star comes back and receives the heartwarming video and the adulation from the fans and, maybe a job post-playing career as an ambassador. And the Wizards have done a really fantastic job as of late, especially bringing back alumni and honoring them. And people are into it, as they should be. I mean, the Arenas Jameson stuff this year, Caron Butler stuff was awesome. And so Ted had, and like Candace Buckner wrote a great piece in the Washington Post about this, and she seems convinced this is so un-Ted Leonsis-like that he had to have had this epiphany that this wasn't going to work and that he needs someone else. And, hey, he's hiring someone from outside the organization. Yes, but it's not until we see him actually greenlight the kind of rebuild that this is going to take. And it doesn't have to be the process. I think that's also gotten twisted too. When I say you have to blow it up, it doesn't mean you have to commit to being bad for 5 years like Philly did. You don't have to go full the process, even though tell me they're kind of bad for the next couple of years, but they're going to draft the next Joel Embiid, who's about to win league MVP. I'd sign up for that. But a lot of people won't. Fine. But you need probably a year or two of being bad. You need to accumulate assets. You need to get a really good draft pick. You need to acquire more assets by trading some of the pieces you have now, including Beal. And once you trade Beal, that is considered blowing it up. However long it takes you to rebuild that's the construction project that follows the demolition. I'm in favor of the demolition, and the reason I'm in favor of the demolition is I don't see another path to build. This is the land that they own. There's not any more space to build on it. You have to knock something down. And so when Leonsis says, hey, Tommy didn't make the playoffs, that's why I fired him, I hope he realizes that the land that you're building on, we're not just trying to build another house with the roof over our head and be like, oh, hey, we're grateful for the roof. Yes, you should be grateful for a roof. But the apartment you get in your 20s that gets a roof over your head is not the same one you want when you have the best job in your career, at whatever age that is, at your maximum earning potential, and you've stacked some cash. Which is why when you look, down the hall in your apartment building and you're the Wizards and you see these rascally kids running around the Orlando Magic living in the same unit as you, that's not a good reflection of you. You don't get to call the front desk and complain about the kids. They're making the noise. You should have made some different decisions and moved out a couple of years ago. And so that to me is what I want to know from Ted Leonsis. If I get to interview him, which you bet your bottom dollar that we're asking, not that I expect that request to be granted, but we're certainly going to put it in. That is the nature of these things. That's not, I understand that owners don't do a lot of interviews, but hey, at the very least, I hope he holds a press conference. And maybe he winds up doing it when he hires the new guy. But the question needs to be asked. What's on the table? Are you willing to be bad to be good? Are you willing to do some franchise management? We won't use the word tanking. Some franchise management in order to get ultimately where you want to go, get the young talent that you need, become a team on the rise, not a team that has risen to the level of mediocrity for most of the last 50 years. 301-230-0980 is the phone number. We already got a couple folks on hold. Haven't even really asked for calls yet, so we'll get to your calls next. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll be back in 3 minutes. And if you're not on hold yet, but you'd like to be, Get there, and then I'll answer your phone call on the other side. 301-230-0980. It's The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.